Welcome back to my course game Asset, where we make a car together, starting from finding references and block out. Today I will show you and explore the tool that will help us to make a high poly model. In this video you will learn how to make high poly in a proper way. You can find more videos from this course on my channel, and it will be applied to any game asset you will model. If this video is useful for you, support this project on Patreon. And thank you all my patrons who made this video possible. Really, thank you. I will explain everything in details about Bevel Modifier, Subdivision Surface, Loop Cut, how to clean the geometry, and show you how to solve the problem that you will face, including all the artifacts that can happen while you are modeling. If you're a beginner, make sure that you watch this video to the end, because there is so many explanation and detail that is important for you, and I will bring you on the new level of 3D modeling. This course is absolutely for free, and I'm trying to put as much as I can. In the same time, I'm a little limited, but it's definitely everything you need to know in your beginning and medium stage of 3D modeling, so you can move forward and achieve new stages in your journey. Also, this time I have screencast keys, so enjoy it. Now I'm using the Smooth by Angle modifier, or automatic smooth in other words. But we still can see that the edges here is really bad quality. It looks like the sharp edges everywhere on the car. The challenge here is to determine what tools we will use, and we will go through all of them to find the best solution. And let's get started. The next step in creating the game asset is to create high poly version of this low poly car. The main concept is that we'll have a low poly car, and then we will make a high poly car, which is we're gonna bake normal maps to this low poly, where all those edges will be bevel on high poly version. Game dev asset requires really good quality of the textures, and the mesh should look in a good way. It doesn't mean that the texture requires high resolution, it means that all the UV unwrapping should be really good with no stretches. It means that all the normals should baked, and then you can visually see the difference. The main problem is here that the game dev asset requires really good quality models without additional or increasing the geometry. So if you look at the model is low poly. It got the hard edges, sharp edges everywhere. If you add the geometry to make it look better, you increase the amount of polygons, which is actually increase the weight of the models for the game engine. There is a great solution. You just need to have a low poly car and high poly car, and then you can bake normals from high poly car to low poly car, and it will create the illusion of high poly edges. None of this exists on the mesh. It's just the image, a map that applies to your texture. If this sounds a little complicated, I will make sure that you understand everything by the end of this video, and it will be easier for you to tell the difference, and you will start to see all the scenes in the game that you play or the art that you can see without any problem. Most of the work with the geometry can be done faster by using modifiers and add-ons. There are many tools you might not consider important that can help you a lot. To go further, I need to check my overlays, face orientation. As you can see, some of them, my faces are red and some of them are blue. I explained a bit in my last video, but before we go further, make sure that all your red faces are blue. So you can just select your geometry and go to mesh, normals, and rectangulate outside. Or you can select the red faces separately and then flip them. I find this method is much faster, especially if you have many objects in your project. It is very important because before you start applying bevel, if there is any faces are red, it will cause you issues with the geometry. To demonstrate it, I will go back and I will make those faces. So as you can see, there are so many problems can happen where your polygons is upside down. It will cause mostly those issues, and if we go back, if we just select all of them, mesh, rectangular outside, and select the same edge, we can see that we don't have any issues with this geometry right now because it was fixed. Right now, all the faces are in the right position. I have a collection in Blender called Low Poly, and I need to copy this collection, which is right mouse click, duplicate collection. I'm gonna rename it as High Poly. I'm gonna turn off the Low Poly, and the only collection that I keep working will be High Poly. My goal is to make sure that everything looks beautiful, and you also have to be careful how far you can go with the high poly geometry, how much distance you take with the actual low poly to the high poly, because if you have very complicated mesh, it will be really hard to bake the shape that are much far away from the low poly shapes, but about this a little bit later. Right now we have many separate objects, and I left them because it will be for me easier to apply modifiers and to change them. A little later it will be the one mesh, only the wheels will be separate. The most popular tool is probably Bevel. To apply this tool, you go to the top mode, Ctrl B, and you just bevel your geometry. But in Blender we have 2, even 3 different bevels that you can apply to the geometry. One of them is bevel that change the forms, which can be applied only for one edge if we needed it more smoothly. Meanwhile, the bevel modifier will apply to your whole object, and you will use the same setting for all edges. To demonstrate it, I'm just gonna add bevel. We will see that everything applies equally for the amount of edges that you have. Bevel modifier can be very useful if you make a high poly model to make sure that all the edges are looking good, like it's a part of real plastic or metal. The more edges you add, the better quality you will get. When the Bevel tool can be useful to change the geometry. Bevel tool also has amount of the settings, like you can apply it with a percent, how many percent of the model you want to use, and you have different amount of segments, shape. You can also apply bevel modifier for vertices. Not many people knows about that. You just select the vertex, bevel the vertex, select the vertex here in effects, and let's go to the offset, and you can bevel only one vertex. Here is very important to notice, that is, you have to pay attention to your bevel size and object size. Our goal here is to make more realistic model than a cartoonish look, so we must follow real-world examples to achieve a natural feel. You definitely have seen in your life the difference between the metal sheets, the plastic, and you can easily tell if you look at your monitor or computer what's the difference between the plastic shape edges and metallic shape edges. Practice and observing helps you to make your model better and feel natural. And the difference between the beginner and professional artist, you master little scene so long just to find this real feel of the model. It's not that complicated to make a car. It is complicated to make a car that feels like in the style you want. It's complicated to make a car properly. It's complicated to make a car properly and keep the same style and the same feel for large amount of models. But for right now, let's go back to our Bevel tool and Bevel Modifier. I don't need Blender Modifier right now for those pieces, and I'm gonna start only with the Bevel tool. From here, I select the edges, and I probably will go here with a percent. If you need to modify your geometry a little bit, don't be afraid to do that, because it will help the normals to look better, but also remember that you cannot go a lot further than that your actually original copy, which is actual low poly model. In some cases, the offset settings work so much better. The Bevel Modifier can be complicated because it can make your geometry looks a little bit weird, so sometimes I connect all the vertices to have the clean geometries so my normals can be successful for the first time of baking. Just a little pause to tell you very important information. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel and click like to this video and leave a comment to help me to grow my channel, so you can see more videos on my channel, especially about my personal project, big ones that I am so excited to share. I really hope that this channel helps you to learn and improve your skills and grow as an artist and as a person. Subdivision Surface. The next modifier that is in my list is Subdivision Surface. Subdivision Surface can be tricky. All modifiers are applied to your objects. If you want the separate part, like handle for the door, apply to different modifier. Make sure that this modifier is separate object, and then you use it, apply, and then connect them together. You can have separate part that you don't want to be affected and use different modifiers. Subdivision Surface is very simple modifier. You just apply Subdivision Surface. You can change the level of viewport and render. And if you go to your wireframe here, you will see that you already got additional geometry that have the higher quality and look so much better. With the Blender modifiers, you can change the settings for one modifier and it will be applied automatically to another one. So with the Bevel tool, you cannot change the size after the tool was used. So whatever settings you did for your shape, it was already done. But with a Blender modifier, if you don't like the result, you can always go back and change it. But if we go here to the hood of the car, and we will go and apply Subdivision Surface, we will get so much weird result, and you would ask me why this has happened. The reason is that if we didn't have a bevel modifier, subdivision surface on another part would look absolutely the same. If the edges is not beveled, so they don't have any support, it means that subdivision surface will be applied to your whole geometry, and it won't keep your hard surface, your sharp edges sharp, because you didn't told to the program to keep it sharp. My role is right now to make sure that all the edges that I want to be sharp needs to stay sharp. I need to select the edge. This one is definitely should be sharp. Right click mouse and 8 creases. You can modify the amount of the creases that you add. Let's say 1. The same I want to do with all edges that need to be sharp. The color will be pink, and if you go to the geometry, you can visually see what exactly happens to your geometry. With this tool, you have to be careful and make sure that all the edges that coming down and has all the sharp edges should be applied. To connect my geometry here, I'm gonna use the loop cut and make sure that all the vertices are connected to each other. So if we apply the subdivision surface right now, we can see that the edge that we selected is still working. I just need to go ahead and do the same for all my edges. It's really hard to see when you work with the subdivision surface, so if you want to edit or make the changes and it's hard to see, then you can just enable real time here and you will be able to see everything what you need. It does look a lot better, and now I just need to do the same with other edges as well. If I see this model, I can tell that it needs bevel. Also, be aware of the shapes that are very small and the big ones, because their effect with the bevel modifier will be so much different. Sometimes, as in my case, I needed to separate this part from this part to apply bevel modifier with different settings. We just started and we already can see the result that it's coming together, and it looks so much better already. It's a great example where Bevel Modifier doesn't look very well. No matter what segments do you add, you can see that we don't need all those edges in here. Instead of the bevel, you can bevel on your own if you would like. And then apply Subdivision Surface. It looks nice so far. Keep working and keep editing the geometry here. I would recommend to separate these objects because those are actually different materials and it requires different bevel on the edges. It does look so much better. Also, remember to remove the after smooth from the object because it doesn't need it anymore. This component is different because it has different shape and it has different angles, it has different settings for the bevel tool. As you can see, this object looks so much natural right now. So if we compare this object to this one, we can see that we selected the edges and used the edge and crease in one. And in another object, we use the bevel modifier because we really needed specific shapes in there. If you want to change the amount of the min crease, you can change it here as well. And you can see how much change in your viewport. I'm thinking to add the bevel modifier in here because in the same times it needs a curve, but not the one that was presented before. remember also to remove all the mark sharp, because you don't need it anymore. We can see that we got really very weird shades in here. It's because if we don't have any geometry here at all, the subdivision surface will react weirdly here. So instead, there is so many ways you can go with it. You can use extrude or eye. Now we get the better shapes and the better smooths. We can see the problem here, so I need to go ahead and fix it. We can connect those vertices together and we will get culinary geometry than I had before. It's always plus, it always helps, because the moment that you start baking the normals, you will find so many problems there. So it's better to fix them before than after. Now we see that our cylinders look so much better and they look so much natural. The palms, you have to be really careful with them because natural they have connection here and it usually made with the metal. Either they was made after the manufacturing or they were made where they have specific curve in here. And here your task is to make it as natural as possible. The more levels of viewports you increase, the better quality of the model you can see. And this is exactly the same curve I was talking about that we need to make so that it looks natural. I think this is time to move on and work with the other parts of the motor. In this part I have to be very carefully because we cannot apply the Bevel Modifier everywhere in the same manner, which is actually means with the same settings, because all the form has, especially in hard surface, all the forms has specific curves, specific lines, specific characteristic according to their materials. Here we have to keep this edge right here because it's very important for this kind of model, and other edges can be beveled a little bit different. I connected the geometry, so now I have more cleaner geometry to apply the subdivision surface. And it looks pretty good. This is a separate model. It does look so much better, and we also got the mini crease here, so anytime you feel comfortable to change the value, you can easily go there and do that. There's few more details left. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it very fast, and we will move on another stage. After all modifiers was set up, now you can see the result, and you can see how the lights and the shadows on the car, how the form itself looks like. And if we go here and apply the subdivision surface, and we go in the wireframe mode, geometry itself is very tough. For each part we got subdivision surface or bevel and subdivision surface and so many other things. If you go here, mean crease setup, which is actually the pink lines if you look at, and yeah, that looks pretty good. I think it's time for UV unwrapping. I'm very happy with the progress so far, and I cannot wait to bake the high poly model to low poly model. My next video will be about UV unwrapping. I decided to divide this video in two different parts. One of them high poly modeling and another is UV unwrapping. So make sure to subscribe on my channel so you will get notification when the video will be published. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was useful and interesting for you. I hope you learn a lot, and I hope it helped you to improve your skills and to get better as an artist and maybe a little bit as a person. Thank you, and see you in my new video.